Alex Leonidas is a name that most of you have probably heard. Whether you're a frequent viewer of his channel, you discovered him recently, or you've been watching his videos since 2015, in my opinion, he has one of the greatest fitness channels on YouTube. For novices and advanced lifters alike, I believe his channel is a goldmine of useful information and opinions on many aspects of fitness. You'll find insightful videos about bodybuilding, powerlifting, calisthenics, and fitness in general on his channel, and he has made great achievements in all these areas, so he can never be accused of being a puny science-based lifter who doesn't have enough experience in the game. This video will explore Alex Leonidas' channel, his philosophies, transformation, achievements, and exactly how he achieved these things. Before we get started though, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who showed me support on my previous video. The comments especially really meant a lot to me, and I probably wouldn't be making this video today if I hadn't got the feedback that I did on that video. As well as that, Ivan himself saw the video and really liked it, and he wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for a bunch of you who were commenting on his channel, so thank you for that. With that said, let's get on with the video. Introduction. Who is Alex? I have no idea how old Alex is, and he keeps his personal life very personal, which I can absolutely understand and respect, so we won't be talking much about that today. I do know that he's from Canada and grew up skinny. His training journey began with calisthenics and transitioned to mostly weights, although he's never dropped calisthenics because he understands the unique benefits that it provides. I'd definitely say he has good muscle building genetics, as he was able to pack on some good size very early on. He also has great insertions for most of his muscles, with his strong points being his back and chest, although he does struggle to grow his arms in particular. He's been lifting for over 10 years and he's built one of the greatest natural physiques on social media, shocking everyone the first time he got lean and then blowing that physique out of the water when he got shredded. He's achieved 184 kilo pause bench, a 230 kilo low bar squat, a 272 kilo sumo deadlift, 113 kilo dip, an 84 kilo weighted pull-up, as well as having amazing performance in calisthenics, being able to do things such as a 30 down dip workout. For the uninitiated, that's 30 dips, 29 dips, 28 dips, and so on until you reach 0 reps. To put this into perspective, 20 down is seen as a solid standard to aim for, so he has very impressive strength, work capacity, calisthenics performance, and cardio ability. What else has he got? Well, without breaking the fourth wall too much here, he's built his channel from the ground up to over 400,000 subscribers, over 150 million views, and has made over 1,300 videos. He's gone from a scrawny, opinionated kid to a wise, jacked, heavily respected member of the lifting community on YouTube. This transformation, along with his achievements, have not gone unnoticed by his viewers, as showcased by the strong community that he's garnered on his channel, as well as the respect he's gained from other fitness YouTubers in the same space, GVS and Natural Hypertrophy to name a few. I've been watching his channel for years now, starting in about 2020, and have seen him grow personally from then, and I've gained a lot of knowledge from him. He's part of the reason I've specialised in weighted chin-ups, why my back is my best body part, pause, and I've spent hundreds of hours binging the videos on his channel. His channel is very inspiring to me, so it seemed like a no-brainer to make this documentary on him. So with all that glazing out of the way, sit back and enjoy my analysis of Alex Leonidas, aka Alpha Destiny. Chapter 1. Accomplishments, Training Style, Philosophy, and Evolution. Alex's training style and philosophy has evolved a lot over the years, although currently he still has the same basic goals: to build muscle, get stronger, and live long with a great quality of life. After initially moving from calisthenics, his training style was heavily influenced by Westside Barbell, and to a large extent, he followed the powerlifting trend that was so big at the time. He was a big fan of full body workouts, training just twice a week, with additional calisthenics and GPP days in between, even having a back and forth discussion with an early keynote body about this topic. Something that Alex was infamous for back in the day was unconventional lifts. He was a big fan of the behind the back deadlift, Jefferson deadlifts, rack pulls, Z presses, and neck training. He was a pioneer for this kind of training, and he really revealed it to the masses, recording his workouts regularly and showcasing how he was building his strength in these unconventional lifts, which did translate quite well to the basic movements, such as the Big Five. It was around this time also that Alex developed his naturally enhanced philosophy, which is an emphasis on specific muscles to tailor a physique to look enhanced, with emphasis on the neck, traps, upper back, shoulders, forearms, and glutes. He emphasized getting strong on movements related to these muscles in an effort to really emphasize your physique, and that's exactly what he did. For as awkward as this kid was uploading videos in his white wife beater, in his 1920s style haircut and beard, he was growing. His training style and drive to get stronger was clearly working. His viewers were noticing his increase in muscle mass, as well as his impressive strength, not to mention the fact that he already had created a very effective novice program that still holds up very well today, especially with a few minor adjustments. He definitely gave great advice, even this early in his YouTube career. His strength, physique and knowledge continued to increase for a long time following these discussed strategies, whilst also improving his content gradually, resulting in a slow and steady increase in his quality of videos. After some time, Alex now had some professional lighting and his videos were more concise and well written. Just like with his approach to training, Alex had slowly and meticulously progressively overloaded his content. He made content such as exercise versus videos and Q&As, which some people might suggest is a lazy form of content, but personally I see it as a great way to interact with the community, and I always thought they were very well put together and useful, and allow Alex to answer commonly asked questions. By 2016, Alex was becoming one of the most talked about characters in the YouTube lifting community, mostly because he was setting a lot of trends in this era of YouTube. His use of unconventional lifts was controversial because many people accused him of trying to hide his true strength, or they were just turned off by the strangeness of the lifts. However, his get strong to get big approach was very popular at the time and was very effective, and still is. In addition to this, Alex was the pioneer of something called bear mode. Bear mode is simply staying at a higher body fat percentage, around 15 to 20%. Bear mode undeniably has some unique advantages, such as increased strength, increased recovery, which makes it easier to put on muscle, increased size, as you will always be bigger at a higher body fat percentage, as well as having more freedom in your diet. You can take a more relaxed approach, and this is especially appealing to guys with big appetites, because you can simply eat more food and not worry about it. This is also a sustainable diet model for a lot of people, because there are no ups and downs, no weight fluctuations, and your diet is not constantly changing. You simply reach your desired body fat percentage and recomp from there. Alex popularized this approach to diet and training extremely well by conveying these points in a convincing manner, all while showcasing the benefits himself. Bear mode has caught the eye of many other content creators, such as Jeff Nippard, who did an interview with Alex back in 2016, which garnered over 1 million views. However, on social media at least, bear mode was not meant to last. This is because of the nature of social media. It's visually driven, and over the years people have really learned what angles and lighting can do to improve your visuals. Pair this with being as lean as humanly possible, and you will look way bigger on camera than you actually are. Whilst being bear mode, you will actually be bigger, but you will not appear bigger on camera, especially if there is nothing in the background to compare your size with. So bear mode has definitely gone quiet, although there are still a lot of people who live by the strategy and physique, and it is still talked about to this day. And to give some credit to Alex, he walked the walk and showed how effective bear mode can be, and how good it can look. When paired with his other philosophy of training the 6 essential muscles to look enhanced, he really did have that dense, stocky, brutish build. Bear mode probably will come back because everything comes back around on social media, but maybe not. Alex used to talk about the weighted stretch a lot back in the day too, and look how big that discussion is today. Mainly being popularized by Dr. Mike from Renaissance Periodization, weighted stretching is one of the most discussed topics in the lifting community today. This guy was ahead of his time on a hell of a lot of things. This is because of his love for the game, and it's similar to bronze or silver era bodybuilders who discovered things just through pure experience. They didn't know why some of these things worked, only that they did. By the end of 2016, he'd established his channel, created 3 trends: neck training, naturally enhanced training, and bear mode, and he'd even done a few interviews, including one with Megan from Team 3D Alpha and one with Pete Rubish. Something else he had established was the persona of a G. We all know Alex was kind of a goofy kid when he started on YouTube. Who isn't when they start young? And regardless, he still made good videos. But going back and binge watching his videos has really made me see how funny he was. It's very entertaining to watch, and it also shows just how massive his personal growth has been.
Like, there's some serious truth behind what I'm doing. That's why I got yoked. And for all you guys saying range of motion, shut the fuck up. Like this, I'm stretching my traps with 1,105 pounds. Let me see you pull that and tell me what it does the next day. I'm actually sore as fuck today because of that, right?
Back in 2016, Alex was living the thug life. He had some strong opinions, he knew what he liked and didn't like, and he gave the finger to anyone that didn't agree with him. It's amazing to experience, and I'm kinda sad Alex is all grown up now and doesn't behave like this anymore. These days, he's mature, respectful, and an all-around decent guy. Sure, he has his strong opinions, but he has less opinions like, screw your perfect form buddy, and more like, you should control your form if you want the best strength and hypertrophy gains. Moving into 2017, he continued his tried and true formula, and this is one thing that he's never dropped. He stays in his own lane, creating informational content regarding strength training and muscle building. His physique was steadily improving, and he was expanding his own ideas. He didn't and doesn't rely on other people for his content. He doesn't need to tear other people down, criticizing their ideas, creating a toxic fan base, as he doesn't need to. He's always clearly created content for the love of it, not to fund his crazy lifestyle or buy expensive items. Because of this, he was starting to build a solid fan base by this point, a community of like-minded lifters who enjoyed his content because of their love of the game, which fueled his gains because people were interested in his opinions and what he had to say. Alex had been doing concurrent periodization for some time now, which for him involved 2 full body sessions a week, one being an intensity day with heavy weight and low reps, and one being a volume day with high reps and sets and shorter rest intervals. He paired these sessions with 2 GPP workouts a week that consisted of calisthenics or sandbag workouts to build his general fitness. Following this training system was clearly very effective for him, as by this point he was getting very strong as he completed a 265 kilo frog stance deadlift, a 317 kilo trap bar deadlift, and a 60 kilo weighted pull-up. He was still performing unconventional lifts such as Jefferson deadlifts, high rack pulls, Z presses, and a lot of overhead work with bands, chains, or a slingshot. By the end of 2017, Alex had left most of his subpar and naive training knowledge in the past. For instance, dirty bulking, the idea that arm isolation is not necessary, or avoiding major movement patterns. When he did eventually move away from full body workouts with 2 times a week frequency, he'd proven without a shadow of a doubt that it is a very effective training system. Using this system, he also later managed to achieve a 297 kilo behind the back deadlift, over 1,000 pound rack pull, 100 kilo dip, multiple reps of 1-arm chin-ups, 65 kilo weighted chin-ups, and 165 kilo bench, whilst also building a very impressive physique and becoming impressively lean. By 2018, Alex had completed multiple cuts and gotten impressively lean. This did a lot for his channel, because although he did have a great physique at a higher body fat percentage, when he got lean, he really revealed all the mass that he'd been putting on since 2016, which should have been no surprise because he'd been focusing on doing this exact thing whilst being in a bulked state for so long. So a lot of people in the fitness community who may have looked at Alex before as some goofy kid who liked to do weird training, and maybe they even had the wrong assumption that he didn't know what he was talking about, now looked at him as someone who could get results. Great results. So he must have known what he was talking about. His leaner physique also came with the added benefit, although I'm not sure he saw it that way, of making him more aesthetic. His waist was smaller, his delts popped more, and he now had a visible six-pack, due to his training abs every session for so many years. It's almost like he was laying the foundation for his first cut for the entire time he was bear mode. And I think a lot of beginners could take a leaf out of his book here, because if you can control your need to be super lean and just focus on gaining a solid foundation of mass and strength for your first few years of training, yes, years, then when you do a cut, you'll look 10 times better than if you'd wasted time cutting down to a low body fat percentage before that. This advice doesn't apply to people who are already at a high body fat percentage, especially if you're over 20%, and it doesn't mean you need to actively bulk for years. Now, I thought about making an entirely new chapter for this segment, but I've decided that I don't think that's necessary, because I want this video to mainly focus on Alex's training and channel as a whole, not drama or negative things that should be left in the past. But this is something very important that relates to and happened to Alex's character and impacted his channel. In April of 2018, Alex uploaded a video titled "Clarifying Everything." As a commenter pointed out, Alex in fact did not clarify how the quantum description of reality, which includes elements such as the superposition of states and wave function collapse or quantum decoherence, give rise to the reality we perceive, as we all expected him to. In fact, Alex instead discussed himself, how he's not the same man that he used to be. He admits that some time ago he was a complete loser, with few friends, social anxiety, and he was an insecure, weak nerd with no life or purpose. He admits that he used to troll people every day online, saying offensive things to get reactions, engaging in a lot of weird behaviour, and that this was a dark time in his life. He says that he's become more mature and positive, and I and most everyone else, apart from the people who are still stuck in the same stage of life that he was in, agreed and accepted his apology. And yes, he did actually give a sincere apology. This was not a perfect video, and you can tell that he's not quite as mature as he is these days, but he's worlds away from the kid that he was when he first started the channel. And this video was a very significant checkpoint in his own personal transformation, because it showed that he was really on the right path, and he wasn't afraid to own up to and apologize for his mistakes. Moving on, Alex has never really taken breaks from creating content, and that's one of the reasons his channel has continued to grow steadily over the years. Just like in the case of Ivan Juric, who has recently been having lots of breakthroughs in his training, nothing wants to stand in the way of an unstoppable force, so it's almost guaranteed that these two would succeed. For instance, on the 29th of January 2019, Alex uploaded a video titled "I'm Back," which suggests a decent sized break. No, he'd just been sick for a week, so he'd missed an upload. This just goes to show how rare something like this was for him, and it even provided him with a new spark of motivation, as he basically started a new little chapter by getting a haircut, making a mini trailer, and announcing that he'd been thinking about some new big goals and content that he wanted to make. By this point, Alex had really figured out what his weaknesses were, as well as what he loves to do most in his training. He experimented with a bro-style approach to arm training to try and bring up his lagging arms. He incorporated more calisthenics into his training because he knew that he loved doing it, and he continued to preach the most important lessons that he learned throughout the years, like the importance of getting stronger to get bigger, the importance of cardio, nutrition, how to avoid injury, as well as continuing to share how he trained, never locking it behind a paywall. There's not much more to say here for a while without being repetitive, because year after year, Alex's physique, general strength, calisthenics, mindset, maturity, and his content in general continued to steadily improve. He just kept going. I think there's a hugely important lesson there. What's the number one important thing about working out or training? Well, I'd say it's probably consistency, because if you don't show up, you're guaranteed to get zero results. Well, Alex applied the exact same philosophy to his content, as he's been very consistent, and it's gotten him the results to match that consistency. I've taken inspiration from him in this way, as this video has been made from just 1 hour of work a day. Every day before work, I wake up at 6 AM and I work on this video for an hour. It's a very useful strategy, and it means that I'm always sure to get some work in, even if I don't have time after work. By 2019, Alex was a different person. He wasn't in his final form yet, but you'll really notice a difference here. There is one big difference to Alex's training that occurred in 2019 too. This was the first time we saw him branch away from full body training. And yes, he had been doing full body since 2016, probably even earlier. And why not? It had gotten him amazing gains, and it had meant that he'd only have to be in the gym twice a week. And with his lack of emphasis on the legs, it suited his needs very well. For me personally, I've ran full body for short periods of time before, but I preferred shorter, more frequent workouts. After binge watching so many of Alex's videos, I do have a real urge to run the split again, but right now I run an upper lower. I enjoy training over the weekend the most, and I'm not too keen on long sessions. I'm also 6'1" and my legs are a huge weak point for me, but I don't know. Maybe I'll give it some thought and try it out. In 2019, Alex really slowed down on his leg training as he lost passion for unconventional lifts and was focused more on cardio, mainly running. In the short term, this meant he looked the best he ever had, and his physique had reached a very, very impressive level. He'd built an impressive amount of muscle since 2016, as I mentioned. The cardio and cutting had allowed him to lean down, but also he does seem much more vascular, and I would attribute that to the increased blood flow caused by the cardio. Something else that I'll quickly mention here is Alex's diet. We all know Alex is a big proponent of bulking and cutting, which works wonders for him, and I have to say it works very well for me too. I find progression in my training much easier when I'm in a surplus. Alex's actual diet though has been shifting towards veganism since around 2018. Alex has clearly been researching this topic for years, until just over a year ago he decided to go fully vegan. I'm not going to go into any detail about veganism and the morality or effectiveness of the diet, but I will say that it says something about Alex's character. I don't know if you've noticed, but veganism is very unpopular on the internet right now. The rise of the carnivore diet has meant that veganism has been thrown to one side by social media. It's uncool and for soylent soy boys, and there is a lot of anti-vegan propaganda going around that I'm sure you've seen. This has been happening for a while, and I believe the pendulum will swing the other way soon, mostly since the percentage of people who've tried carnivore and gotten bad results from it because it and similar diets are nutritionally lacking increases every week. Regardless of the public perception of veganism, Alex has stuck to his guns, and as he's learnt more about it, he's become more and more interested in it and become a bigger proponent of it, which I can definitely respect. 2020 was like the renaissance for Alex's channel. I believe this is the year that I started watching him, but it's hard to pinpoint, to be honest, because I've seen lots of his older videos, and his channel's one of those that you can go back through and end up watching their back catalogue, which says a lot about his channel. We all know what reared its head in 2020, at least in the UK, as in March we had our first lockdown, so a lot of people, including myself, focused their time on working out, and calisthenics and home workouts became the new craze. I started working out with calisthenics with high volume basics, but also mixing in a lot of skill work like front lever and planche training. Just out of interest, I got to the frog progression for the planche, and I did achieve the full front lever. So this is how I found Alex's channel, as he offered great advice and he was very knowledgeable about this subject, which was no surprise because he had great performance too. Alex's training and content moved back to calisthenics around this time, so his knowledge and performance around it increased also, with many workouts and informational videos around the topic therefore being released. I also believe it was around this time that he truly realised the effectiveness of handstand push-ups, which, if you're a fan of Alex, you'll know that he loves these now, and he even used them when preparing for a bodybuilding competition, so that's how effective they are. He put a positive spin on being isolated, and he showed how even if you were a frequent gym goer, your gains could improve at home rather than going down the toilet like a lot of people were afraid of. Sure, you weren't going to add to your squat or bench if you didn't have access to the equipment, but you could gain muscle, lose fat, get better relative strength, and most people could probably add weight to their bench without even doing the exercise, as well as most machines at the gym. Me personally, I've never benched, and even with my pushing muscles being one of my weak points, I know I could push a hell of a lot more weight than I could before I started working out. And let's be honest, it's well renowned that the carryover from calisthenics, especially weighted calisthenics, to weight training is huge. When gyms reopened in Canada, Alex got right back to it and began uploading lifting content again, Something that I haven't really mentioned so far is that Alex's videos have been becoming gradually more professional over the years, and by 2020 they had a real professional feel to them, as he was using a good camera, he had professional background and good lighting, and he'd occasionally change his environment by recording outside. With all these years of practice, he was also much better at speaking on camera now too. No more stumbling over his words, licking his lips or mispronouncing anything. By this point he was becoming a master at his craft. Alex's knowledge, patience and maturity was on full display when Greg Doucette decided to make a video on him. It wasn't a fully negative video, rather it was Greg's commentary on Alex's take on natural muscle gains and expectations. Alex responded to this video, dissecting every point that Greg made, mostly agreeing with him, but clarifying when necessary. When Greg made a second video about Alex, it went a different way. In Alex's second video, he wipes the floor with Greg, after Greg chooses to ignore Alex's points and talk about made-up arguments that he's pulled out of his own head. However, this was definitely a reminder of the old Greg, when he made videos about things that he actually thought could provide usefulness or a unique take on, rather than the clickbait, drama-fueled, repetitive garbage that Greg mostly uploads now, exploiting and milking every topic he gets his hands on, whether that's the Trent twins, Mike Israel, or Sam Sulek. Anyway, Alex basically disagrees with Greg's black pill ideas and nihilistic opinions that are displayed as truths that no one wants to accept, and that's the end of the discussion. And it was a very useful and interesting one if you ask me. Although I can't be sure what exact program Alex was running by 2021, it seemed that he was running an upper lower, with all the same principles applied as before, like concurrent periodization. He also seemed to get back into leg training, as he made some videos on the topic. This is a surefire way to see how Alex is training, because if he's interested in a certain training style, he'll learn more about it, gain more experience with it, and then he'll make a video or videos on it. This also goes to show how Alex's training style works so well for him, and would work very well for a lot of people too, because he self-admittedly has workout ADHD, a very serious condition that means that you want to try everything all at once, which can be a recipe for inconsistency, never sticking to one thing and swapping programs every other week. But with concurrent, he can avoid that, and he basically can do everything at once. Sure, he can't specialise completely in powerlifting for example, but when he wanted to get a 405 pause bench, he focused on it for a while and he got it. Then he moved on and started shooting for a different goal. He had to specialise, but he never had to become a pure bencher or stop doing volume. The funny thing is here, that as I go through the years chronologically, I think to myself, yeah, this is the year he really got to that next level. This is the year when he really leveled up. Then I move on to the next year, and I find myself saying the exact same thing. Every single year, Alex progresses mentally and physically. By 2021, Alex's training had become a lot more optimal, and what I mean by this is that he'd eradicated weak links from his program. He was training a lot more efficiently than he used to, and he was not ignoring any major muscle groups. Although his original obsession and love for yoke training and bear mode had fallen to the side, as Alex experimented with different body fat percentages and had fallen in love with a lot of other training modalities and goals that he was more interested in, like weighted pull-ups. Don't get me wrong, he still does yoke training to this day, it's just not as much of an obsession. Along with removing inefficiency, he'd also removed a lot of the unconventional lifts that he was so famous for back in the day. Simply because he'd achieved what he wanted to, got bored and moved on, which is fine. He's always preached that you should train how you want to. Like I've said previously though, to this day he's never removed calisthenics from his routine, because he understands its unique benefits, like elevating your work capacity, increasing relative strength, keeping you lean and being badass. He hasn't been plateaued with calisthenics either. He's clearly shown that calisthenics works even for advanced lifters, and just like his weight training, his calisthenics performance has continued to climb at a steady rate for years. In 2021, he uploaded a 20 down dip workout. In 2022, he was up to 25 down. In 2023, he'd reached 30 down. He also completed 15 down pull-ups in 2021, which I'm sure he could beat by at least 5 today, and I'd love to see him smash that previous record. In January 2016, Alex was doing weighted pull-ups with 30 kilos. This base was built by his calisthenics background, but it's nothing crazy, and his form is a bit sloppy. By 2017, he'd achieved 3 plates, and it then took him 4 years to add another plate. That's a lot of time, you might say, but this is the natural game. Progression slowed, but it never stopped, because Alex never gave up. He continued to work on his weak links, discovered new training techniques, and experimented with different exercises like the super wide grip pull-up with great success. Although this chapter has been really long, it can be summed up very quickly, because the simple fact of the matter is that Alex has continued to refine his training and mindset every year that he's been on YouTube. Until now, he's become one of the least dogmatic, most knowledgeable, most well-rounded fitness YouTubers. And he's done it all without resorting to drama, clickbait, shilling snake oil, and manipulating his audience. And it's rare to find a YouTuber who has truly grown their channel to a large degree without doing any of these things, especially someone who's been on YouTube for over 10 years. And his viewers have noticed this. These days you can find hundreds of comments saying things just like me, thanking Alex for teaching them so much over the years and sharing so much knowledge. He's really created a great community by being genuine and aiming to help others. Starting all the way back in 2018, when Alex started to show some real personal progress in his character, you'll notice that comments start to appear pointing out how Alex has changed, or is changing for the better. Little did they know, he would not stop, until today when his community is completely transformed as well, to a positive, hopeful, strong and jacked viewership. As you can imagine, paired with his difficult personality, his viewership back in the day was not always positive, but slowly but surely, as Alex grew and changed, so did the types of commenters who left feedback on his videos. It's almost like he left the losers and no hopes back in 2016, and he took the guys and girls with hope along with him. Because nowadays you'll struggle to find negative comments like these on his videos, like you might with his old ones. Your behaviour on YouTube attracts a specific audience, and I believe that as a YouTuber, your audience says a lot about you. That's why I believe and hope that this channel will attract the kind of community that Alex has, positive, hopeful and supportful of each other. These negative comments do still exist, as you can find them bad-mouthing Alex in other places on the internet, discussing things he said and did years ago, being extremely judgy, childish, jealous, and behaving like they're stuck in 2016 YouTube. It's sad to see that they could not grow up like Alex, as most of them have been around since 2016 at least. Unlike Alex, they didn't move on. But the fact they're outcasts and rarities by now shows that Alex's audience as a community has moved on, and they don't need to lower themselves to keep these old discussions like Alex versus Jason Blaha relevant in 2025. You might say that his audience is new and his viewers are not the same as he had in 2016 or 2018, but there are a lot of people that were watching him back in the day that still watch him to this day. Alex is a very hopeful kind of person because his ambitions and hard work has meant great success for him in all the areas we've discussed. This personality and some of his statements, therefore, are like poison to a black pillar. Because if Alex is right, and you can build an amazing physique and crazy strength naturally with average genetics, then they are failures. Because a black pillar is someone who has given up because it's too hard, or because the game is rigged, or because it's not possible, or whatever other excuse they come up with. Alex shows what's possible for a natural lifter, and they hate him for that. Because if he really is natural, and he's achieved all the things I've spoken about in this video, then he destroys their ideology. Chapter 3. Alex's Inspirations. Just like any man that succeeds in life, Alex has many inspirations. Like I said in my study of Ivan, I'm not him, so I'll try my best, but I may miss some, and I truly don't know who Alex's biggest inspiration is. First of all, I have to mention Westside Barbell and Louis Simmons. The first few years Alex was on YouTube, his training was heavily inspired by the Westside Barbell method and Louis Simmons' teachings. He even went as far as to say Westside Barbell changed his life. And unlike many other YouTubers who use titles to bullshit you and then pretend that's not what I meant, it's just a title, bro. If Alex says something in a title, you better believe he means it. Alex was also heavily inspired by Matt Wenning in the earlier days of his training, who he would also learn a lot about strength training from. Alex was actually able to do an interview with Matt Wenning, which I'm sure the younger version of him would be ecstatic about. And he's mentioned before that a lot of the people he's interviewed are people that have had a direct positive impact on him. Other inspirations include Fitness FAQs, Scott Herman, Vitruvian Physique, Brandon Carter, Alan Thrall, John Meadows, Eric, and many more. Like myself and this entire generation of lifters, we grew up being inspired by and learning from YouTubers and internet personalities. Sure, there are a lot of bad things that come with it, but the possibility to learn through the internet is infinite. Alex also takes a lot of inspiration from old school bodybuilders in general, because for the silver and bronze era, there was no drug use, and many of the old school bodybuilders were pioneers who paved the way for the rest of us to learn from. They also embodied hard work and understood many complex topics and techniques intuitively, applying them to their own training combined with hard work to experiment and see what kind of results they could achieve by inputting them, which is something that a lot of the best natural lifters to this day still do. Chapter 4. Why you might want to watch Alex Leonidas. So, if it hasn't sunk in yet, let me just summarize why you might want to watch Alex Leonidas. Alex Leonidas is real evidence that hard work pays off. He's evidence that if you work on making yourself 1% better every day, after a while you'll have transformed into a new person. He's proof that you can build a great natural physique, and in this day and age when social media constantly bombards you with videos like this, or this.
But to be in your 30s or 40s lifetime natty and to take pride in that is literally telling me that you are a fucking pussy.
Alex's channel can be a very useful reminder of what you can achieve as a natural. If you watch Alex, you'll learn about strength training, calisthenics, bodybuilding, realistic natural standards to set for yourself, what to avoid in the fitness industry, and a whole hell of a lot more, from a non-dogmatic guy who has a huge back catalogue of over 1,000 useful videos that you can go through for free. While Alex's content may not be anywhere as philosophical as Ivan's, there are definitely some key philosophies that Alex sticks to, and I've learnt a lot from his channel in general. The key lessons that I've learnt from his channel are as follows. Planning is key to success, especially as you become advanced. A person who plans and sticks to that plan, adjusting if necessary, will achieve far more than a person who just wings it. This applies to training and life in general. I've learnt that the basics work, and that's why they're called the basics. If you focus on foundational movements and attack them with hard work, you will grow. I've learnt that optimal is not as simple as people make it out to be these days. Kneeling single arm rotational pull downs may isolate the lats more and put it under more of a stretch, but what is their progression potential? And finally, I've learnt that time moves fast, and this can be a good thing or a bad thing. You can be like Alex and approach life and training with the 1% method and guarantee progression, or you can be like most other people in society, who look back and think, what's changed in the past 4 years? What have I tried to improve? Be like Alex and work on yourself, because after a while, others will start to notice too. Just as I said about Ivan at the end of my other character documentary, I know Alex will continue to achieve. He's built it into his DNA at this point. Before the video ends, I just want to give a big thank you to Alex for providing me with so much knowledge and motivation over the years. He's been one of the main resources that I've gone to since the very start of my training career. I don't watch most channels that I watched when I started lifting because their content changed, mostly for the worse, or I outgrew them. But Alex never let me down, and he never turned to clickbait content, and instead of outgrowing him, he grows at the same pace, if not quicker, always staying a few years ahead of me in training knowledge, which makes a huge difference. I'd also like to thank you for the response to my documentary on Ivan Juric. If it wasn't for your responses to that video, and everyone, including Ivan himself, telling me to push on and make more, I probably wouldn't be reading this to you right now, so thanks. I know I kind of said this at the start, but I'm just reiterating it. Maybe I copy and pasted it from the bottom back to the top, but I don't know, to be honest. For my next few videos, I'm aiming to make some informational videos that are slightly shorter and won't take as long to create, so you can look forward to more frequent uploads, hopefully. As always, leave any suggestions for future character studies and video topics in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good day.